This happened in the summer, and I believe I was about 12. At the time, I was staying in a hotel in a fairly large city with my mom and my younger brother. We were visiting other extended family but chose not to stay in their house. My brother is younger than me by a decent amount, so I was usually told to keep an eye on him. On the day we arrived, my mom told me to do just that while she checked us in and received our room card. So my brother and I sat down on a couch in the lobby and relaxed a little bit. While we were sitting, a man in about his mid-40s walked into the hotel. The couch was facing the hotel doors, so I got a good look at him. I remember that he was very average looking. Describing his features in detail could generate several different images. The guy comes in and sits on the couch opposite ours. I didn't think anything of it until I realized that he didn't go up to the counter first. He just came in and sat down. It made me feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe I was being a bit paranoid, but I thought he might have followed us in. Thankfully, my mom called us over and told us that our room was ready. We left the lobby and went to our room. Shortly afterwards, we left the hotel to go meet family. I forgot about the man for the rest of the day. We returned at about 7 and my mom told us that we could go swimming in the hotel pool. We all went to our room, changed, and went to the pool. A few minutes after we got into the water, the same man from before walked in and sat down. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, so he definitely wasn't going swimming. Again, we didn't think much of it until I could see that my mom was visibly worried. She pointed him out to me, and she said that if he didn't leave within 5 minutes, we needed to go back to our rooms. 5 minutes passed and he was still there. So we got our things and left. By then it was close to 8 o'clock. We had brought a rented movie to watch, so we planned to watch that and go straight to bed. I noticed that my mom was a little on edge because of the man who had been watching us, and I got a little more worried myself too. Halfway through the movie, my mom got up to get into the shower. While she was in there, someone knocked on the door and said housekeeping. I thought it was weird that the cleaning staff would come this late, but we needed another towel, so I answered the door. I wish I hadn't been so stupid. It was the same creepy man. He gave me a smile and a little wave. I just stood there kind of motionless. My mind automatically went to the worst possible situation: kidnapping, rape, torture, etc. I heard the water in the shower turn off. He stood there as well for a moment, and then he spoke. "How was your swim?" At that moment, my mom came out of the shower, saw the man at the door, pulled me back, and slammed the door. She locked it. Then she called the front desk from our hotel phone to report the guy. I told her to just call the police, but she didn't listen. She then requested we switch rooms. I then heard footsteps stomping down the hallway away from our room. Thankfully, if the guy had left after that, we switched hotel rooms and didn't see the guy again during our stay. When I was 14, my family took a trip to a ski resort in Colorado. I'm the oldest of 4. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and younger sister who was 7 at the time. We all got along really well. And on our second night at the resort's hotel, we decided to hang out in the sauna. We sat there for maybe 30 minutes when my older brother mentioned how he was getting hungry. He suggested one of us should run back up to our room to grab some food for all of us. And stupidly, we sent our little sister to do it. Looking back, I don't know what we're thinking, sending her 7-year-old sister up to our room completely alone. But after a couple minutes, we could hear footsteps come running back down the hall. She ran back into the sauna completely out of breath and explained how some creepy man was following her. Of course, right as she finished explaining, we could see some man I'd never seen before pacing around out in the swimming pool area. I'll never forget what he looked like. He was clearly an older man hunching over as he walked. And the guy was wearing multiple layers of winter clothes, making it obvious he wasn't in the swimming pool area to swim. My brothers and I washed out the sound window in absolute shock, trying to understand what was going on. That's when the man slowly started making his way towards us. Now, the sound had a one-way window, so he couldn't have known all of us were in there. When he got close enough and opened the door, the man instantly froze, clearly not expecting for people to be inside. After a good few seconds without saying a word, the man closed the door and left through an exit. But not just the exit to the swimming pool area, rather than the building itself. After that, we all went back to our room terrified. When we got there, we told our parents about what had happened. And while they were, of course, mad at us for having our sister walk around the hotel alone, they reported the situation to the front desk. I still think back on this situation and wonder what would have happened had that man grabbed my sister before she made it back to the sauna. I of course feel partly guilty for sending her alone, but I'm just glad nothing happened. Looking back, there's no doubt in my mind that the man that followed her that day was not one of the hotel's guests, but rather some random guy who entered the building with bad intentions. I had checked into a budget hotel for a work trip, and everything seemed fine at first. The room was small and basic, but it was clean enough and had all the amenities I needed. However, as the night wore on, I began to notice some strange things. The air conditioning unit made an odd, rattling noise that kept me up for hours. The sheets were scratchy and uncomfortable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't entirely clean. As I lay there trying to get some rest, I heard a faint scratching sound coming from somewhere in the room. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but it kept getting louder and more persistent. I got out of bed to investigate, but I couldn't find the source of the sound. That's when I noticed something even more unsettling. There were tiny holes in the walls and ceiling, almost like someone had drilled them there on purpose. And then I saw the insects. There were dozens of them crawling out of the holes, scurrying across the walls and ceiling. I tried to call the front desk to complain, but the phone was dead. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was completely alone, trapped in a room with no way out. Eventually, I managed to get some fitful sleep, but I was awoken in the middle of the night by a loud banging on the door. When I looked through the peephole, I saw a man standing there, his face obscured by the darkness. "Open up," he shouted, pounding on the door again. "I know you're in there." I didn't know what to do. I was terrified, convinced that this was some sort of elaborate prank or worse. I tried to call the front desk again, but there was still no answer. In the end, I barricaded the door as best I could and stayed up all night, listening to the scratching and the banging and wondering what sort of nightmare I had stumbled into. When morning finally came, I gathered my things and left the hotel as quickly as possible, vowing never to return again.